Most e-commerce brands on Meta are fighting an uphill battle with their ad costs. The CPAs are increasing, they're spending more and more on ads, but the sales and the conversions remain flat. And they have no idea how to fix those issues and how to make sure that they stop losing money on the Meta ads. After analyzing over 200 different Meta ad accounts and generating over 50 million in tracked e-commerce revenue for our clients, I know exactly what you need to do to cut Meta ad expenses without sacrificing growth. And if you don't know me, I'm Andre, founder of HoloGrowth. I've helped dozens of e-commerce brands optimize their Meta ad campaigns for profitability, including brands like Bololo, Nooktails, Globetrotter, or AlgoRx. Today, I'll share the exact tactics that allowed those brands to cut their Meta advertising costs while scaling profitably. Point 1. Outdated ad structures are burning your budget. Here's why micro campaigns kill performance. Most brands are still running their Meta ads like it's 2023. They create a separate campaign for every single audience, product, landing page, whatever they do, they create a separate campaign for that. I'm talking about accounts with 15, 20, even 30 different campaigns, all competing with each other and all trying to get out of the learning phase. Just a few weeks ago, I audited an ad account that was spending about $1,000 per day or $30,000 per month on Meta ads, and they had more than 50 different active campaigns. And each of those campaigns had tons and tons of different ad sets. I think they had a total of 300 different ad sets running, and on average, every single ad set had a budget of $3 per day. And with that structure, they were expecting to get out of the learning phase, and they were hoping that they would get good results, but obviously they weren't getting any results. Meta was not able to get out of the learning phase, and the algorithm wasn't able to take any learnings from all of that, the sheer amount of ad sets and ads that were running. And with that, they were not able to scale the account and to improve the performance. They were just losing a lot of money. Meta recommends to have 50 conversion events per week per campaign. So if you're running a purchase campaign, ideally you should be getting 50 conversions, like 50 purchases from that campaign per week to get out of the learning phase. We've seen even better results if you get towards that 50 conversions per day mark. And because at that point, the algorithm really has enough data, enough information to take all of that information, apply the machine learning, the algorithm, whatever they're doing, and find you the right audiences and show the ads to the right people at the right time and get you the best possible conversions. But if you have a ton of different campaigns running, you're not able to get out of that learning phase. You're not able to get enough data inside one campaign, and therefore Meta will not be able to make the optimizations that you need. We always recommend having the account structure as consolidated as possible. Obviously, sometimes you need to have different campaigns. You need to split it up if the average order value is very different, if the market is different, if the audience that you're targeting is completely different, or you have different return on ad spend goals, customer acquisition goals for the certain campaigns, then you need to split it up. But we always say to have as little campaigns as humanly possible and as many as necessary. For each new campaign that you're launching, you have to ask yourself the question, do I really need that campaign? Is it really adding enough value to add that complexity and to have that additional campaign in the account? Or is there a way that we can consolidate that? Is there a way that we can add that to the existing campaigns to just combine the data, combine the information, and allow Meta more flexibility and more room for optimizations? So here's the 3-step structure reset. The ad account structure is the foundation. Once you have a solid structure, all the results just start compounding. You can start with this quick structure reset. First of all, the campaign consolidation. You should always start with campaign consolidation and a clean structure. Depending on how much you're spending per day, how many conversions you're getting, what your average order value and CPA currently is, you should have as little campaigns as possible. A few days ago, I was auditing an account that literally only had one active campaign. And that one campaign has been running for multiple months, and the whole account structure was just with one campaign over multiple months, and it was spending about $5,000 per day. And it was getting great results because with all of that consolidation and with Meta having all of that data inside one campaign, and also with a budget being high enough to get a lot of conversions in that one campaign, the results were just really, really good. And for that account, it didn't make sense to break it down, have multiple campaigns, have more complexity to the structure. It was literally perfect with just one active campaign. Then, if you need to have multiple campaigns based on your demographics, based on your products, the product categories, or the goals that you have with certain campaigns, make sure to distribute the budget properly. Make sure to still try to put the majority of the budget into some consolidated campaigns, into fewer campaigns, and then have a lower budget on the rest of the campaigns. So Ideally, we want to see like which campaign is getting us the best possible results, which campaign has the lowest customer acquisition cost, the highest return on ad spend, and then we just put the majority of that budget into that one campaign. That will again allow us to get the benefits from the consolidated ad account structure while still having multiple campaigns for different reasons. And step 3, make sure you're using broad targeting, especially with a consolidated account structure and with Meta having all of that information, all of that data, and the algorithm being able to learn. You should give Meta as much flexibility as possible and give Meta as much room as possible to find the right people at the right time with your ads. And for that, we want to make sure that the targeting is as broad as possible. Obviously, there are some exclusions that you want to add. You want to exclude people who recently bought, if it makes sense for your business. Potentially, you want to add some very basic demographics, but it should be as broad as possible. At some point, it might make also sense to test a lookalike audience or to test an interest-based audience. But if you give Meta enough information and the algorithm has enough data to get out of the learning phase, you will usually get the best results by targeting as broad as possible. Now, if your ad costs keep climbing and you don't know why, it's time for a deeper look. At HoloGrowth, we offer a free custom 90-day scaling roadmap. We'll go into your ad accounts, into your funnel, look at your customer journey, look at your website, look at the SEO, email marketing, every single aspect of the business to figure out what is the current constraint, what is currently holding you back from scaling, why are you not able to grow and to achieve your revenue targets. And based on that, we'll come up with a custom 90-day scaling roadmap. It's a clear profit-first path to get to 7 figures per month, built from experience scaling brands like Bololo from 158K per month to 1.5 million per month in revenue. Click the link below to book a free strategy session with me and let's start building your roadmap together. But now let's get back to fixing your ads. Point 2, your creative testing loop is broken. The 2 fatal creative mistakes. The second budget killer. Most brands fall into one of these buckets, if not even both. The first one is creative fatigue. They're basically just recycling winning creatives until they're completely burned out. They're running the same ads for months and months without any refreshes. And with that, they're watching the CPAs climb as audience fatigue kicks in. And the second trap, random testing. They're basically just testing new creatives without a systematic framework. They have no clear hypotheses or any learning objectives. They're basically just randomly testing, wasting budget, and not taking anything away from that, and not iterating based on their learnings, based on what worked, what didn't work, and taking all of that into account when they start creating new ads. The solution is the 3x3 testing method. Here's what actually works in 2026. The 3x3 testing method. 3 angles, 3 creatives per angle, and 3 audience segments. This gives you 9 data points while still keeping your testing organized and your budgets focused. Here's the basic framework. 3 messaging angles. Instead of just throwing random creatives at the wall and hoping that something sticks, you pick 3 distinct messaging angles. For example, 1 problem focused, where you highlight the problem, then 1 solution focused, where you highlight the transformation, and 1 lifestyle focused, where you emphasize the emotional benefit. Then for each angle, you create 3 different format variations. 1 can be a UGC video, 1 can be a before and after static ad, and 1 can be a product demo where you show how to use the product. And then you test each creative set against 3 different broad audiences. The goal here is to identify resonance patterns. We implemented this exact framework with a skincare brand that was stuck and wasn't able to scale their meta ads. And implementing this framework allowed them to reduce their customer acquisition cost to below $60, which allowed them to scale the meta ads and scale the brand. The key here is learning and iteration above perfection. You're not looking for the perfect creative right away. You're looking for a systematic approach to find out what is really working based on real data. If you're serious about optimizing your creative testing and want to see what a real scaling structure looks like, I've got something for you. I've put together a free meta ads playbook built from over 50 million in tracked revenue for our clients. It's packed with actionable steps on how to reduce your customer acquisition cost, increase your meta ads, how to structure your accounts, and everything that you need to scale your brand to 7-figure per month. And this isn't just theory. It's the exact framework that we use to scale Nooktails from 30K per month to over 500K per month in revenue in only 70 days. Click the link below to grab your free copy now. Let's move on to the final strategy. Point 3. The hidden cost of bad data. The third budget killer is poor tracking and slow optimization cycles. When your conversion tracking is off even by 10 or 20%, every decision that you're making is based on bad data. You're essentially flying blind while spending thousands and thousands of dollars on meta ads. And even Meta, like even the algorithm, is not able to make the right decisions and show your ads to the right people at the right time because the data that Meta is getting is also wrong. I see this constantly. Brands making decisions based on the the numbers that Meta is reporting without cross-checking it with real data and with real numbers that are happening on the back end and the real sales numbers and real new customer numbers that you're getting. Here are the red flags to check. First of all, the event match quality. If your score is below 8, that means that Meta is not able to properly optimize and track your conversions. Then the revenue and new customer discrepancy. If Meta is reporting one thing and you see, for example, 20 new customer conversions that came in through Meta and a certain amount of revenue that came in through Meta, but then on your backend on Shopify, you're seeing that in reality on that day, you only had 17 new customers, or the revenue was lower than what Meta reported, that is a huge red flag. It's not possible that Meta is showing you more purchases than happened like in reality, and that definitely means your tracking is off. Because even if every single conversion that happened on your website came in through the Meta ads, there is still some conversions missing. And that doesn't make any sense. That can't be real. Then the third red flag are the attribution windows. You have to be really careful what attribution window you're using on Meta and what kind of results you're getting from that. In the breakdown, you can see how do the results look like for 1-day click attribution, 7-day click attribution, 7-day click plus 1-day view attribution. And you can see that there are huge differences between those. We see most brands make all of their decisions based on 7-day click plus 1-day view. That means if in the last 7 days, someone clicked on an ad, or in the last 24 hours, someone just saw an ad, didn't even click on it, didn't engage with it, but saw an ad, and then they bought, Meta can count it as a conversion. The problem happens when there is a huge amount of conversions that are coming from that view through conversion, from the 24 hours where someone just saw an ad. Because if you see that on the 7-day click attribution window, you have way less purchases and the results are way worse. And on the 7-day click plus 1-day view, you have way better results. That means that Meta is just showing the ads to a lot of people that will probably already buy anyways. And Meta is just showing the ads to those people as often as possible because it knows that at some point they will buy. And that oftentimes just leads to a lot of like inflated numbers and Meta's results looking way better than they are in reality. If that happens, you should switch the attribution window to 7-day click only. And if you have a product that is more impulse driven, where people make the decision really fast whether they want to buy the product or not, then you should even consider switching to 1-day click attribution. That is the most aggressive one that you can pick on Meta, where it only counts as a conversion if someone clicked on the ad in the last 24 hours. And it's really important to pick that on the one side, obviously for the reporting and for you seeing like how many conversions are you getting, what is the return ad spend, what is the customer acquisition cost. But it's also really important for Meta's learning, because if you select 7-day click plus 1-day view, Meta will optimize everything based off that. And if Meta suddenly sees there are a lot of like view through conversions and a lot of purchases that are happening through that, Meta will just show the ads to more similar people. Whereas if you just tell Meta to optimize everything for 1-day click, then Meta will also optimize everything for 1-day click, and it will only count those people in, and the algorithm will start optimizing for those people that buy the product right away. Depending on your product, depending on your conversion window, it might make sense to also have different attribution windows, have one campaign with 1-day click, one campaign with 7-day click, one campaign with 7-day click plus 1-day view, or to test those and see like what is really getting you the best possible results. But it depends on the brand and depends how much you're spending and what kind of results you're getting. The fix to all of those issues is pretty simple, but very powerful. You need to build a consistent audit rhythm and also have proper reporting dashboards in place. When your data is clean, every decision just compounds to your success. Here's a quick checklist to start. First, weekly performance reviews. I mean, that is the bare minimum. On a weekly basis, you should look at all the numbers, all the results or the reports and see like what is working, what is not working. Ideally, even way more than that. We look into basically all of our accounts on a daily basis to see how is it working. And we have different automations in place that notify us if anything is wrong, if anything is looking off, or if there's suddenly like big changes in something. But at least once a week should be the bare minimum that you look at all the numbers and analyze those. Step 2, cross-check attribution data and decide like which tracking method gives you the most accurate results and the most accurate numbers, and also figure out like what are the main KPIs that we're optimizing for. What is our blended customer acquisition cost? Like what is the blended return ad spend? And those should ideally be based on real numbers. Like in-platform return ad spend is great, but it's not something that you can rely on. You can never be certain whether it's accurate or not, and it doesn't matter. Like the return ad spend on Meta could be as high as possible. If you see that on the back end, you're not getting the sales and your net profit is going down, it doesn't help you. So the main KPIs should always be tied to real business metrics, and they should be always tied to numbers that are 100% accurate, where you can go into Shopify or whatever platform you're using and cross-check them and see that those are the real numbers. And step 3, build reporting dashboards that automatically show you all of the main KPIs, show you all of the numbers, and where you can see trends, where you can notice changes, and where you look at least on a weekly basis, where you can see all of those things and cross-check everything to know that you're on the right track and make the right decisions. Now, let's bring this all together. You don't lower your CPAs by just cutting ad spend. You lower your CPAs by understanding your data, tightening your campaign structure, and optimizing like a pro. Pick at least one strategy from today and take action this week. Because if you're just watching this and you don't implement anything, you haven't learned anything. These are the exact same strategies that we use at HoloGrowth to scale e-commerce brands to 1 million per month in revenue and beyond. And we do that profitably without wasting any advertising budget. They're not complicated, but they require at least a little bit of discipline and systematic execution. The difference between brands that scale profitably and brands that don't isn't luck. It's having the right systems in place and having the discipline to follow them. And if you're ready to see how top brands are optimizing their meta ads going into 2026, I've broken it all down step by step in another video. Don't miss it.